What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to another episode of McLean's Man Cave Picks and Predictions Week 9. And I'm in disbelief, but it actually is Week 9. I just checked it. We're we're in Week 9. There's a game going on right now as we record uh, on this Thursday night. Troy's actually beating Coastal Carolina, which is crazy. But moving on, basically, I'm just gonna go over last week. So I was 7 for 10 on money line. It's not bad. The only ones that I lost on money line were Penn State, which I'll go to in a second, UCLA, which they were winning pretty convincingly at first and then blew it, on Western Michigan, which was shocking to me at least. And then I was 1 for 2 on the locks. So again, Western Michigan was one of those locks. I went minus 2.5, and they ended up losing to Toledo 34-15. And what's interesting, I was really feeling it because I just thought Western Michigan had a better offense, in general. And the score was 15-13, Western Michigan. And I was like, all right, see, I'm right around there, minus 2.5. They just need like a field goal, and we're good to go. But, after a fumble six and, few things not going down their way, they lost complete momentum and they ended up losing. So it just goes to show you one big play can just change the whole momentum of a game. And then my other lock I got right, which was Georgia State minus 10 over Texas State. They ended up winning 28-16, so they won by 12, and so they covered just barely, but they covered. So not bad for the week. And then that Penn State game. Making history, not the best way to make history, but first game collegiate or just game in general to ever go into 9 overtimes. Went into 9 overtimes, lost 20-18, which it's heartbreaking, but it's more like disappointing. It's almost like you're a disappointed father. Like you're just like, bruh, really? Like I'm not even mad like I was about that Iowa game, because with Iowa I was like, we were the better team. We definitely played like the better team, and we definitely deserved to win this game. This game, on the other hand, I feel like Penn State definitely deserved to lose. And some people can talk about the weather, this and that, but there was just no life in that team at all. Illinois was playing with such confidence. Their O-line was so dominant. And it goes to show you, when everyone's talking about Big 12 and SEC and all these explosive games and all these explosive plays, it really American football comes down to three things. You get these three things, you win the game hands down. One is a good run game that on average 4 or 5 yards a carry. If you get 4 or 5 yards every carry, okay, that's one. Two, you have a good defense. You don't need the best defense, but you need a pretty decent defense. I would say like the ranks of, let's say, Iowa, Penn State, that type of level of defense. And three, you need to have such a disciplined team where you have the least amount of penalties. So if you have a run game, like now I'm not saying explosive run game, decent run game that basically gets you a first down every 2 plays or 3 plays, and you can just consistently get drives, a good defense that doesn't allow the other team to score many points, and you're very, on point and you don't get any penalties or anything like that, you'll win that game. It's not like a sexy way to win, but you're going to win. Like, it's not going to be exciting, but it's like the magic formula, right? So that's kind of how Illinois, kind of played Penn State. They were like, listen, they have the better athletes, they have the better explosive plays, but if we can shut down their explosive plays, if we can hold the time of possession and basically just try to get 4 or 5 yards of carry, doesn't matter. We're just going to hold the ball, we're score when we can, and just, win the game. And that's what they did. It was just, Big Ten football at its finest. Not so much for Penn State. I can't talk about the defense. Penn State's defense played really well, but Penn State's offense, it was just so bad. And it's really a numbers game, and it wasn't even all the players. It was some of the play calling too. It's a numbers game. When they're stacking the box, and they're showing that they're stacking the box, and you have one high safety, and it's like 2nd and 15. that's when you have Jahan Dotson, bro. Jaheisman Dotson, and you don't throw it to him. You run the ball in second 15 when they're stacking the box. I mean, I don't know who's calling. I mean, Mike Yursich, if that's the best you can draw up, that's a problem. So that's all I'm gonna say about that game. But I mean, listen, football is a numbers game. It's all about numbers. It's all about measurements. You know, and those inches matter. The play calls matter. What the defense is showing you when you're on offense, that matters. You can't just call a play willy nilly. You gotta read the defense, and take what they're giving you essentially. So Penn State, shame on you. That was a terrible loss. All right, so now I'm just gonna go into these picks really quick. I'm gonna just do 10 in total, 8 money line, and 2 locks on the spread. And here we go. So number 6 Michigan and number 8 Michigan State. This is a big rivalry, as everyone else knows. Michigan State's actually favored -4. This is actually very even battle. I really had to break it down here. Looking at the stats on paper, Michigan State has a more balanced offense between the pass and the run, whereas Michigan Wolverines, they definitely they rely heavily on the running backs Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins. So both teams have great running backs. Michigan has Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, and Michigan State has Kenneth Walker III. Those are amazing athletes, but I'm gonna give it to, in this case, I'm gonna give the best running back to Michigan, just because they have 2 of them, so they can never really get tired. They can just keep plugging and chugging every play. But on quarterback, I'm going to give it to Peyton Thorne for Michigan. I think, Michigan State. I mean, Michigan State's quarterback, I think Peyton Thorne, he played very well at Northwestern, and then he transferred to Michigan State, and I think he is better than Cade McNamara at Michigan. So there you have it there. Both defenses are pretty similar, but, in general, this rivalry has been kind of one-sided recently. I kind of want to go with Michigan, but just seeing how balanced, I think this is really going to come back down to how balanced is your team. I kind of want to go Michigan State. I would go Michigan State, but -4 is a lot. I don't know. This is a 50-50 on this one. I would stay away from this if you're ever considering putting money on this, but I'm going to go Michigan State Spartans on this one, but something in the back of my mind is telling me Michigan's going to win this. Okay, we're at 8 minutes, so let's rush this up. Number 9, Iowa versus unranked Wisconsin. Wisconsin -3.5. Iowa had that loss against Purdue 2 weeks ago, and then they had a bye week, so they had a long time to sit on it, just like Penn State did when they lost to Iowa and they had a bye week. So either one thing, Iowa's either going to rally, or they're going to be like Penn State and they're just going to fall apart. In this case, I think they're going to rally. I just think that Iowa, they have a little bit better offense than Wisconsin, and Wisconsin, I think they already fell apart the wheels fell off that a long time ago. So I think Iowa actually wins this. I'm not saying it's a lock, but I'd probably go plus 3.5. Not 100% positive. It's just, it's a 50-50 after that bye week. How is Iowa going to respond to this? It's going to be interesting to see. Moving on to Texas versus number 16 Baylor. Baylor -2.5. So I think Baylor's going to probably win this game. Texas has shown absolutely no defense. Probably, high school teams can score a bunch of points on Texas. It's just bad. So I definitely think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I don't know if it's gonna break the over, but I think Baylor's gonna win this game. Moving on to number 17 Pitt versus Miami. Pitt has finally kind of proven themselves. They beat a lot of teams. They beat them by a lot of points. They just beat Clemson last week. Kenny Pickett, honestly, I think he has a run for the Heisman. He's kind of quiet, but you never know. I think Kenny Pickett definitely has a run for the Heisman. Pitt's favored -9. I definitely think they're going to win this game. Miami has been just a disappointment this season. They're always overhyped, and overrated essentially. Now they're unranked like they should be, and Pitt's gonna win this big. I'd probably say 2-3 scores, something like that. Number 20 Penn State versus number 5 Ohio State. Ohio State minus 18.5. I think Penn State's kind of falling apart at this point. Sean Clifford's health. I mean, they're kind of. I mean, he's still playing. He's still not that healthy though. He can't. He wasn't running during that Illinois game. Every time he got sacked, he was kind of like limping. So it just doesn't look good. Like one bad hit on Sean Clifford, and he's already not 100%. Then we're gonna have Roberson back in there, and it's just not gonna look good. But again, the same thing with Iowa, Wisconsin. Two things are gonna happen. Either Penn State's gonna kind of rally and come back together, like they did last year. They fell apart after quote unquote losing to Indiana. Fell apart. They lost 4 or 5 games, something like that. And then they rallied and they won their last 4 or 5 or so. I can't really remember, but I know that they won the last 4 in a row at least. So that could happen again. They could fall apart like they just did, and then they're like, you know what? No, this is Ohio State. This is our rival. And traditionally, in the past, 5, 6 years or so, Penn State and Ohio State have been played very, very close. My senior year, we beat them. Next year, we were winning, lost by 1 point. Following year after that, we were winning all game, lost by 1 point. And then I think the next year we lost by like 11 or 12, something, nothing like, not really a blowout, you know what I mean? So minus 18.5 is kind of high. It opened at minus 16. I don't know what to do with that spread. I think it's really perfect spread. It really just depends on how Penn State shows up. Are they going to show up together? Because I still think Ohio State's going to win the game, although I want Penn State to win. But, either it's going to be a close game the whole game, and then Ohio State just breaks away in the third and fourth quarter and they cover, or it's just going to be a close game all the way to the end and Ohio State ends up winning by like 10-14. That's my prediction there. But who knows? That's why they play the game. Hopefully, knock on wood, Penn State wins, but that's not my prediction in this video. Moving on, Illinois Rutgers. At first, in the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, Rutgers is going to have a Big Ten win. Because they got Illinois, blah, 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 Northwestern. Nope, they lost to, basically every Big Ten game this year, and they lost to Northwestern, which is, a winnable game. Now they're playing Illinois, and I thought, maybe, but the way Illinois played Penn State, Coach Bielema basically was like, hey, he kind of talked crap about his O-line publicly before the Penn State game, and the O-line showed up big time during that Penn State game. So they had like 7 O-linemen all at once, and they were playing perfectly, and they just own the line of scrimmage. And I literally think they're just going to run all over Rutgers in this game. So I'm going to go Illinois winning by 2-3 scores, maybe even 4 scores. I think Rutgers is kind of... I was wrong about Rutgers. All the time. They play really easy non-conference games like Delaware. Maybe if Rutgers played like, LSU, even... I don't know, UCLA, something like that. That would, kind of show where Rutgers is, maybe invigorate them a little bit. But playing Delaware and beating them by a lot doesn't say anything about the program. So Illinois is going to win this game. Moving on. Number 1, Georgia versus Florida. Georgia minus 14. I really want to call this a lock, Georgia minus 14, but I'm not. Because I just don't know where Florida's at. I know they're like kind of middle of the road. Georgia's definitely going to win. Don't get me wrong. Georgia's... they already know they got their mind on their mission, so they're just chugging and plugging. So I don't know. This is that they could win by 10 or they could win by 28. You never know, but Georgia's gonna win, so that's why that's not my lock. Moving on to another one that I almost put as my lock: Duke versus number 13 Wake Forest. Wake Forest minus 16. I really thought Wake Forest should win by more than 16. After that crazy game last week where Wake Forest beat Army like 70-56 or something. I mean, it was crazy. Absolutely no defense. I was like, is this a Big 12 game? And yeah, Wake Forest really, they escaped a few games, but they're the only team that's undefeated in the ACC. So, hey, listen, they let up a lot of points, but they're still finding ways to win the game. So I think they're going to win the game, but minus 16 with that defense, I don't know. They can't let Duke score that many points. I think minus 16 is possible, but I don't know. That's not going to be my lock this week. But Wake Forest wins, and they continue their undefeated season. So it's really going to look like a I got to look again, but I think Wake Forest and Pitt might be in separate divisions in the ACC, so it might look like a Wake Forest Pitt ACC championship, which would be really, really interesting. And then my two locks, number 4 OU versus Texas Tech. OU's favored minus 19.5. I know Texas Tech doesn't have a good defense at all, but I mean, Oklahoma didn't. They basically lost to Kansas last week. Remember, I was like, oh, Spencer Rattler's grandmother could win. Doesn't matter who quarterback is. I mean, Oklahoma looked terrible, and they found that they're just getting miracles, and it's not even their fault. It's just like, I don't know what gift of God they're getting to win these games, but it's crazy. So, yeah, Oklahoma's probably going to win the game because they always find ways to win, but they're not winning by 19.5. Are you crazy? So I'm going against the spread, and I'm going plus 19.5 Texas Tech. I could definitely see Oklahoma winning by 14, even 17, but I don't see them, that's basically 3 touchdowns, not minus 19.5. So Texas Tech plus 19.5. And finally, my other lock, number 10 Ole Miss versus number 18 Auburn. Auburn's actually favored minus 3. I was kind of scratching my head like, does Vegas know something that I don't? Because Auburn's not that good. I'm sorry. Like, they're really not that good. They lost to Penn State. Sure, fine. Then they literally basically lost to Georgia State. Not forgetting that. They got blown out by Georgia. They barely beat LSU, which is not really a good team. And Ole Miss is just a, firepower, just scoring. So, I'm going plus 3 Ole Miss here. I don't care if Auburn's home. Ole Miss, Matt Corral, he's another Heisman contender. Lane Kiffin definitely has the plans. He's going to be, just driving down the field with his offense. And, I think Auburn's another school that's been a little overrated this season. So, damn, I got to 17 minutes, which I know my analysis was a little long, but I'm going to wrap it up there. So, if you liked the video, consider liking, Halloween weekend, guys. So, trick or treat, have fun, all that stuff. Comment down below what you think about the games. Comment down below what you're going to be for Halloween. And yeah, I thought this week would be like the Saturday Scaries, but because it's Halloween, but apparently it was last weekend with all those close games that I didn't even get into those. But, all right, guys, so, hang in there, and hopefully, in a few weeks, we're just going to be a bowl season. It's like coming every week. It's just going so fast. All right, guys, take care.